My name is Alex Wax, and this may well be possibly the best exploring video ever.
Here we got a photo of Michael Jackson with the servers on the plane. Guys, I just found a photo with Michael Jackson's autograph on it. This plane has everything, it's crazy.
Michael Jackson's private jet carried him across continents during one of the most intense tours of his career. But what was found inside challenges everything fans might imagine about a superstar's travel life. Instead of gold-plated glamour or lavish extravagance, the discovery reveals a story of quiet routine, security, and survival amid chaos. What secrets did this modest Boeing 727 hold after years of silence? And how did this aircraft become a sanctuary for a man constantly under the public's watchful eye? The truth behind that door is anything but what people expected. Behind the doors, initial discovery. For years, rumors surrounded Michael Jackson's private jet, fueling wild imaginations about hidden treasures, secret rooms, or mysterious clues to the king of pop's elusive persona. The Boeing 727, which carried him through one of the most demanding tours of his life, remained sealed and largely unseen by the public after the Dangerous World Tour ended. Then, years later, a group of aviation preservationists acquired the plane and finally opened its doors for inspection. What they found inside was anything but the flashy, extravagant spectacle people expected. Instead of opulence, the airplane bore the marks of a tool built for purpose, a flying sanctuary more focused on routine and privacy than luxury. Some custom fittings had been stripped over time, replaced by more standard commercial components. Yet, fragments remained, hinting at a very different past and a glimpse into the intense world Michael inhabited while in transit. Among the discoveries were laminated flight schedules matching exact tour stops, worn noise-canceling headphones, and handwritten notes that seemed unmistakably personal. Inside storage compartments sealed for years, crews uncovered flight bags with sunglasses and cryptic memos, evoking the presence of a demanding schedule and close-knit traveling crew. Even folders containing carbon copies of weather reports and meal service checklists surfaced, bearing Michael's name in his own handwriting. Though mundane on the surface, these documents tied directly to the day-to-day grind behind the global spectacle. Perhaps the most surprising find was a forgotten envelope hidden beneath insulation panels, containing candid photographs of crew members and an unposed image of Michael walking quietly toward the plane's stairs. These were snapshots not meant for public eyes, capturing moments of calm and normalcy amid relentless tour pressure. The authenticity and casual nature of these photos offered a rare window into life behind the scenes. What stunned onlookers most wasn't the presence of secret items or scandalous artifacts, but the sheer ordinariness of what was left behind. No golden artifacts, no hidden vaults, just practical remnants of a star's constant movement through a punishing world tour. It was a reminder that despite the grandeur outside, the jet's true story was one of function and endurance. Many fans had envisioned Michael's travel life filled with constant spectacle, but the scene inside the jet whispered a quieter tale, one of escape, stability, and the unglamorous reality of non-stop touring. For those involved in reopening the plane, the experience was almost surreal, peeling back layers of myth to reveal the human aspects of a superstar's existence. The opening of the jet's doors wasn't just a physical act, but a symbolic unveiling of the mask, showing the intersection of celebrity and personal vulnerability. This blend of the extraordinary and the ordinary set the tone for understanding Michael's life on the road in a very different light. The preserved schedules, faded belongings, and hidden compartments revealed a carefully controlled world structured for privacy and protection rather than flamboyance and excess. It was clear that the plane was designed to serve the tour, the artist, and his team in the most practical way possible, even if that meant sacrificing glamour. A plane is more than a vessel. It's part of a system that supports a global production on an epic scale. The jet, and the tour, logistics. The Dangerous World Tour wasn't just a concert series. It was a monumental logistical feat spanning multiple continents, cultures, and time zones. Michael Jackson's Boeing 727 was a central component of this operation, ferrying him discreetly and steadily from city to city, while an army of personnel mobilized behind the scenes. The plane was carefully chosen not for flash, but for functionality, capable of navigating tight schedules and landing at smaller airports to meet the tour's rigorous demands. While the jet carried Michael and a select traveling party, the rest of the tour's massive equipment and crew moved separately, relying on cargo planes, trucks, and support flights. Over 100 personnel and more than 100 tons of staging gear constituted a mobile city, a rolling machine that moved with precision and grace despite its size. The team used Boeing 747 cargo aircraft to transport lighting rigs, soundboards, and wardrobe cases essential to replicating a flawless show at every stop. The tour's modular staging occupied over 20,000 square feet, requiring dozens of local workers just to unload and prepare venues before the crew could assemble the set. Massive sound towers soared up to 60 feet, demanding industrial cranes for positioning. Yet, in regions where flying wasn't practical, convoys of 18-wheelers carried everything needed, from cables and speaker cabinets to pyrotechnics and spare parts. Logistics extended down to staggering detail. Separate trucks hauled wardrobe with multiple identical outfits for every performer, ensuring no delays in costume changes. Michael's involvement was limited to approving key hires such as lighting and sound directors, people he trusted implicitly. Months of rehearsals fine-tuned not only performances, but the mechanics of packing, transport, and rapid stage turnover. Local challenges varied drastically. Unstable power grids in parts of South America or Eastern Europe meant portable diesel generators had to be flown in advance to power crucial equipment. Catering teams fed over 200 people each day, carefully navigating local health codes and accommodating Michael's strict dietary requirements. Large tents with mobile refrigeration units provided makeshift kitchens and dining areas near stadiums. Even security was a colossal piece of the puzzle. Michael's protection team coordinated with local police and private firms, scouring venues in advance to map emergency exits and crowd flow, leaving nothing to chance. Tour managers juggled everything from permits to hotel bookings using walkie-talkies and fax machines, an analog web of communication that kept the operation running smoothly before the digital age. Despite the scale and complexity, Michael himself focused on his craft, shielded from the sprawling logistics that enabled sold-out audiences night after night. The jet, though simple, was his lifeline, ferrying him above the chaos to moments of calm before and after performances. It was a stark contrast to the whirlwind backstage, highlighting the balance between spectacle and precision required for such a tour. Understanding this immense backdrop is crucial to appreciating why Michael's choice of a Boeing 727, a mid-sized but reliable aircraft, made sense. The jet's practicality, speed, and ability to navigate diverse airports allowed it to be a discreet, efficient home base amidst global demand. The jet's interior reflected this ethos of purpose over extravagance, shaping a personal environment carefully crafted for rest and routine. Interior design and practicality. Despite public expectations of a lavish flying palace, Michael Jackson's Boeing 727 featured a surprisingly restrained and functional interior designed for efficiency and comfort, rather than opulence. The plane was not owned outright, but chartered and configured with a standard VYP layout, featuring first-class leather seats, reclining lounges, and small, private compartments. The space was reduced from a commercial configuration to accommodate sleeping areas, a modest galley, and a private bathroom, focusing on what was essential for long-haul comfort. Michael typically accessed the plane through a private rear entrance away from prying eyes at the airport terminal. The cockpit and flight crew occupied the forward section, while the midsection housed a corridor lined with recliner seats, workspaces, and a secure storage cabinet. One compartment had blackout curtains and a simple single bed lined with dark wood paneling, providing Michael privacy and solitude during flights. Modern entertainment amenities were notably absent. A small monitor was mounted in the rest area, accompanied by portable audio equipment brought on board by the staff. Michael would listen to demo tracks on headphones or watch VHS tapes during longer trips, but there was no integrated media center, satellite television, or internet connection. Books, scripts, and tour notes formed much of his personal in-flight occupation. The atmosphere aboard was meticulously maintained. Flight crew members were instructed to keep noise to a minimum and avoid unnecessary interactions, respecting Michael's need for calm and focus. His personal security team conducted sweeps before departure, and medical staff sometimes accompanied him for support, though emergency situations were reportedly rare. Meals service reflected Michael's health-conscious lifestyle. A dedicated flight attendant followed strict dietary preferences, avoiding processed sugar and red meat, favoring fruits, vegetables, baked chicken, and herbal teas. The galley contained basic appliances including a microwave, hot water unit, and a compact refrigerator. Meals were served on reusable trays with utensils, and cleaning was handled discreetly by support staff rather than local handlers. Surprisingly, Michael had no involvement piloting the plane, though he showed curiosity about technical details such as turbulence and fuel loads. A former pilot recalled Michael's calm demeanor during takeoff and landing, often retreating to the rear with noise-canceling headphones during turbulence. He was briefed on flight durations and conditions, but left navigation and planning to the professionals. Security on board was rigorous without being overtly intrusive. Personal guards sat near him during flights, occasionally rotating shifts on longer routes. There were no firearms, but strict identification checks and requests for private tarmac access helped maintain his privacy and safety, shielding him from fans and media. Taken together, the interior was less a luxury retreat and more a mobile sanctuary, a controlled space providing Michael with the stability and quiet that were otherwise impossible amid his hectic tour life. It was a place to recharge physically and mentally in preparation for demanding performances. Even in the air, the king of pop's life was governed by discipline, trust, and a need for solitude. Security and privacy measures. Security aboard Michael Jackson's private jet was tight and meticulously managed, reflecting the immense pressures he faced as one of the world's most scrutinized celebrities. A member of his personal security detail was almost always seated just a row or two away from him during flights, providing close protection without creating an overtly tense atmosphere. On longer journeys, guards would rotate shifts to maintain constant vigilance, ensuring that Michael remained shielded from any threats or unwanted attention. Interestingly, the aircraft carried no firearms, highlighting a reliance on strict protocols, professional discipline, and controlled environments over overt displays of force. Identification checks were thorough, with boarding contingent on detailed vetting to prevent unauthorized access. In some airports, Michael's team requested private tarmac access, allowing the plane to avoid bustling terminals and the prying eyes of paparazzi or fans. This level of discretion was vital to preserving the privacy Michael desperately sought. The jet itself became a mobile extension of Michael's personal space, a carefully controlled environment where surprises and disruptions were not tolerated. Every individual who boarded had a clear purpose and was subject to strict protocols, eliminating casual passengers or unvetted visitors. This approach reflected the need for both physical safety and psychological comfort as Michael navigated the relentless pressures of fame. Flight crews were briefed extensively about maintaining a quiet, respectful atmosphere, with a clear understanding of the sensitivity required when working around a superstar. This professionalism wasn't just about protection, but also about preserving Michael's mental and emotional well-being during travel. Security sweeps, and medical staff presence further reinforced the controlled nature of these flights. Beyond the onboard measures, the scheduling and routing of the jet were designed to minimize exposure. Flights often arrived at night or in the early hours, cutting down risks of fan intrusion or media frenzy. This off-peak timing also allowed the tour to maintain momentum while keeping Michael under the radar. The jet's modest exterior helped it blend in, a low-profile vessel for a superstar. Michael's own habits contributed to this protective cocoon. He preferred traveling with a small, trusted circle of staff, including medical professionals and close aides, rather than large entourages. This smaller group helped minimize variables and maintain control in an otherwise unpredictable world. Trust and loyalty among his team were paramount, underscoring the fragile nature of respite he could find on the move. Security extended beyond just the physical. The jet's covert nature was part of a larger strategy to create a world within a world, where Michael's public persona could be temporarily paused. In an era of intensifying tabloid pressure and legal challenges, this controlled anonymity was essential. It bought moments of peace, allowing him to guard his private self away from the public eye. No detail was accidental or overlooked. Michael's travel was a choreography as precise as his performances. The same discipline fueling sold-out stadium shows extended to the management of his airborne sanctuary, from passenger lists to seating arrangements to arrival times. It was a fortress engineered for stability amid chaos. Privacy and security shaped Michael's daily life on the jet as much as comfort and routine, blending inseparably into his efforts to survive life in the spotlight. Life on board, routine, and respite. Life aboard Michael Jackson's Boeing 727 was less about entertainment or spectacle and more about routine, rest, and mental reprieve between grueling performances. Far from the image of a party-filled celebrity jet, the environment was quiet and controlled. Michael often traveled with headphones on, listening to demo tracks or simply seeking silence, avoiding socializing or distractions during flight. He brought books, scripts, and tour notes to occupy his time, focusing on rehearsals or planning while airborne. The jet offered a rare chance for uninterrupted solitude, an essential refuge from constant global attention. The small rest compartment with blackout curtains provided a private nook where Michael could lie down and conserve energy, a necessary respite from the physical toll of the tour. Flight attendants respected these needs, providing meals aligned with his strict dietary habits, fresh fruits and vegetables, baked chicken, herbal teas, and avoiding processed sugars and red meat. Meals were prepared simply but thoughtfully, reinforcing a sense of normalcy and care amid constant travel. The galley was modest yet functional, supporting these dietary preferences without luxury trappings. Medical staff sometimes accompanied Michael on flights, ready to address his chronic back pain or other health needs. The cabin maintained a consistent temperature and quiet atmosphere, critical for his comfort and well-being. This level of medical and personal support aboard the plane underscored how the jet functioned as a microcosm of care during a demanding tour schedule. Michael's calmness during flights, even through turbulence, was noted by crew members. He was known to retreat to the aft section of the plane and stay relatively disengaged, using noise-canceling headphones to shut out external noise. This behavior illustrated his reliance on the jet as a sanctuary, a place to recharge before returning to the intensity of tour life. The jet's modest entertainment setup, including a small monitor and portable audio equipment, reflected Michael's focus on simplicity and function rather than ostentation. Rather than seeking distraction in lavish amenities, he gravitated towards solitude and preparation. This environment nurtured his discipline and focus, traits essential to sustaining performances night after night. Unlike many celebrities who might flaunt their status mid-flight, Michael's approach was understated. The plane was built for a sense of calm control rather than display, reinforcing his desire to escape the spotlight even while in transit. His crew and security respected and maintained this atmosphere, ensuring quiet and order prevailed. Traveling aboard the jet became a ritualized part of Michael's touring life, a necessary daily retreat. These hours in the air were some of the few times he could truly be alone, free from the cameras screaming fans, and media frenzy. It was a structured stillness, a rare commodity in a life punctuated by chaos. This rhythm of routine and repose within the jet's controlled space highlights a dimension of Michael's life that fans seldom glimpsed, a man constantly striving to carve out peace amid a never-ending storm. Unexpected items found. Years after Michael Jackson's Boeing 727 was retired and stored, aviation preservationists who acquired the plane uncovered a collection of unexpected personal and tour-related objects that painted a vivid picture of life on the road. Among the first discoveries was a laminated flight schedule tucked away in a forward storage compartment, meticulously listing flight legs from Tokyo to Seoul to Taipei, with dates and initials corresponding precisely to Michael's 1993 itinerary. This simple artifact grounded the aircraft firmly in the historic context of one of the most demanding tours ever undertaken. Further back, in an overhead bin sealed for years, crews found a small flight bag containing worn noise-canceling headphones, a pair of sunglasses, and a handwritten note with tour stop names marked in black marker. While ownership of the bag couldn't be verified officially, insiders familiar with the handwriting suggested it bore a striking resemblance to Michael's distinctive block-style lettering used in rehearsal notes. These items evoked the constant movement, the personal prep, and quiet moments behind the scenes. Hidden behind a broken panel near the aft galley, technicians unearthed a rolled-up folder filled with printed documents, carbon copies of weather reports for flights, and a meal service checklist, which had Jackson handwritten across the top. Though mundane, these papers offered a rare accidental preservation of the backstage operations that kept the tour running day by day. The waitstaff's attention to meals and the crew's detailed logistical notes spoke to the immense care required to support such an endeavor. Most remarkable of all was an inconspicuous envelope discovered beneath floor insulation near a maintenance hatch. Inside were a series of faded photographs printed from 35mm film. These candid shots showed the cockpit crew smiling in front of the plane and, more poignantly, a blurry nighttime image of Michael walking quietly toward the stairs. Unlike staged publicity photos, these images were intimate glimpses, possibly taken by a crew member, quietly preserving a moment of solitude amid relentless public exposure. What astonished many was not the presence of glamorous or exotic artifacts, but rather the extraordinary ordinariness of the contents. No secret vaults or hidden treasures were found, just the practical remnants of a global superstar's grueling life on tour. These tangible reminders showed that beneath the myth was a man tied to schedules, logistics, and fatigue. This revelation defied popular perceptions. Fans who imagined a floating palace filled with opulence instead encountered a stripped-down utilitarian space designed for function. It was the antithesis of extravagance, underscoring that Michael's reality on the road prioritized survival and routine over spectacle. For many of those who assisted in revealing the plane's interior, the experience was surreal, unveiling not secrets but a time capsule of a demanding era. It was a moment of peeling back fantasy to reveal the human story beneath, where a legendary performer sought refuge in the most practical ways. The interplay between the mundane and the extraordinary within this jet offers a powerful metaphor. Behind every sold-out stadium and dazzling stage was a constellation of quiet moments, documented in notes, headphones, and faded photos, preserved not by intention, but by accident. The contrast between these private artifacts and public expectations leads naturally to how the broader world viewed celebrity travel, and what reality looked like when the curtain was pulled back. Public perception versus reality. For decades, the image of celebrity private jets has been one of unparalleled luxury. Gold fixtures, velvet seats, private chefs, and glamorous parties high above the clouds. When people thought of Michael Jackson's jet, the mental picture was often an airborne palace suitable for the king of pop. However, the findings inside his Boeing 727 challenged these assumptions, exposing a practical, modest reality that spoke more to necessity than indulgence. Media and fan communities expressed a mix of surprise and relief upon learning about the jet's true nature. Instead of extravagant excess, they found a disciplined, low-key environment focused on routine, health, and privacy. Online discussions revealed that many longtime supporters saw this as consistent with what they knew of Michael's personality during the Dangerous World Tour, someone who valued control and quiet sanctuary over public display. Aviation experts echoed this sentiment, explaining that the Boeing 727 was a favored aircraft among touring artists and business executives because of its adaptability and efficiency. Its size allowed quicker turnarounds and the ability to land at smaller airports, crucial for a global itinerary stretching across continents and time zones. Far from unique to Michael, this aircraft represented the pragmatic backbone of complex touring operations. Journalists highlighted the profound disconnect between public myth and reality, emphasizing how the jet symbolized the labor and coordination underpinning magical performances. Behind every sold-out show was a logistics network, stretching from flight schedules to catering, security, and power supply. None of it glamorous, but all vital. The plane sat at the center of this silent web. Security analysts also noted the strategic importance of maintaining a nondescript flying profile. During a period when Michael faced intense legal battles and tabloid scrutiny, using an unassuming, modest aircraft was a deliberate risk management tactic. It protected him from undue attention and allowed the tour's complex itinerary to proceed with minimal interference. Historians and music industry analysts place the jet within the broader narrative of evolving touring culture in the 1990s. Efficiency, privacy, and safety took precedence over luxury as artists faced unprecedented demands and risks. Michael's jet embodied this shift, balancing the rock star image with the realities of personal protection and endurance. For fans, the jet's story adds texture to Michael's legacy. A man who electrified stadiums, but also needed quiet moments to recharge. A superstar managing constant pressure behind a surface of perfection. This grounded image enriches the mythology without diminishing his luminous talent, revealing the human struggles beneath the spectacle. The public's revised understanding transforms the airplane from a mere transport vehicle into a symbol of Michael's fight to sustain peace amid chaos. It is a testament to the delicate balance between persona and person, fame and privacy, chaos and control. In the end, the truth about the jet invites us to rethink celebrity, reminding us that even icons are tethered by routine and vulnerability, navigating a world where every detail matters and every moment of solitude is precious. The story of Michael Jackson's Boeing 727 isn't just about a plane. It's about the fragile sanctuary that made one of the most demanding tours in music history possible. Legacy of the Jet and the Man. Michael Jackson's Boeing 727 stands as more than just an aircraft. It is a symbol of the intricate balance he sought between his public persona and private life. At the height of global fame, the pressures surrounding Michael were immense, and the jet offered a rare space where he could momentarily retreat from the public eye. Its quiet interior and practical setup reflected a man who needed peace, routine, and control amid chaos. This plane was not a trophy or a statement of luxury. It was a lifeline crucial to his endurance. The jet's restrained design mirrors Michael's focus during the Dangerous World Tour. Not indulgence, but survival. He was a working artist, managing a life with almost no off-switch, constantly moving, performing, and satisfying unrelenting expectations. The aircraft became a sanctuary where he could recharge physically and mentally, proving that beneath the dazzling performances was a human being vulnerable to fatigue and the demands of fame. Michael's insistence on privacy and routine extended beyond the jet itself to the trusted team traveling with him. The people chosen were not for glamour, but for loyalty, discipline, and the capability to maintain order. flight attendants trained in discretion, medical staff knowledgeable about his personal needs, and security professionals who understood the importance of silent protection all contributed to this rolling environment of care. This stability was critical for a man besieged by scrutiny and constantly on the move. The context of the early 1990s added layers of complexity. Michael faced growing legal pressures and tabloid attention, making discretion a necessity rather than a choice. The modest appearance of the jet, with its lack of flashy branding or elaborate decoration, was a strategic move to avoid drawing unnecessary attention at airports or venues. It underscored a larger effort to create a world within a world, a temporary pause from the relentless spotlight. Medical concerns also shaped the jet's significance. Chronic back pain and the physical toll of performing meant that rest and care were essential, even mid-flight. The cabin's controlled temperature, quiet atmosphere, and medical readiness ensured Michael could manage his health in an environment where unpredictability was minimized. The jet was not just a transport vehicle, but a tailored recovery space. Mentally, those hours up in the air gave Michael something rare. Not just peace, but that kind of solitude where you can actually think. All the time, people back on the ground tracked it, logged it, and dissected everything. But up there, the jet still let him kind of slow down, reconsider choreography, and read, or just stay by himself. There weren't cameras or fans buzzing him, no sudden interruptions, more like planned quiet, if that makes sense. That mental pause was a precious refuge for a man who spent so much of his life under an unblinking gaze. And no, it isn't really a badge of excess or some empty flex. The Boeing 727, instead, kind of sums up the fragility and the weird complexity of Michael Jackson's life. It shows the pressures it takes to keep not only a world tour going on an extraordinary scale, but also to hold on to something fragile, a sense of calm and normalcy. Even the small stuff mattered, like who was allowed to fly with him, what food was brought in, how the cabin was set. All of that pointed to a deeper need, protect something more delicate than money or reputation, meaning his peace of mind. The legacy of this jet goes past the metal and the layout. It's also a story about the human side of an icon, bringing into view the daily realities hidden behind the spectacle. In that sense, the jet stays a historical artifact, a thread back to the unseen work behind Michael's artistry, his private fights, and his constant effort to control what was never truly controllable. So, in the end, Michael Jackson's Boeing 727 feels like a symbol of endurance, of logistics, and of the stubborn courage required to keep an identity intact while fame spirals around you. It's a reminder that behind every superstar, there's still a person, someone reaching for sanctuary and steadiness, a man who needed a place where he could simply exist, without performance, for a while. Michael Jackson's private jet wasn't hiding secrets. It held memories and the reality of a life lived in motion, balancing fame and privacy. This glimpse behind the scenes reveals a man defined by discipline and the need for peace. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into iconic moments and hidden truths.